In this episode, we're going to be talking about the differences between B2B and B2C. And really, this is kind of like aesthetics versus security. And by the end of this episode, I think I will have made like a kind of like giving you like a pretty decent sales pitch if you're in a B2B organization to sell storytelling within your organization, to convince your CEO or your CMO or wherever you're at that chain. This should help you out a lot. So let's talk, before we kind of get into the differences between B2B and B2C, I feel like it's important for us to try to figure out, like, why do those differences exist? Like, what's the source of these differences? This is not going to be a history lesson, okay? I'm just gonna kind of like take my current observations and just apply them to what I see. But I think the difference is really between like aesthetics and security. So let's just examine our life as a consumer and how we think about our purchases from a consumer perspective. Fair warning, I'm an American. I'm not even going to try to pretend to not be an American. I'm not going to try to pretend to be culturally sophisticated, right? I know where my biases are. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not like speaking from an American standpoint. So these things might be slightly different from where you're at. As an American, our needs are met. The majority of us, okay, the vast majority of us, our needs are met. We don't need, we're not like starving. We're not in a situation where we don't have housing. I'm saying the vast majority of us, I know there are people suffering from hunger and there are homeless people in America, okay? I'm not trying to diminish the existence of these things, I'm just trying to talk about marketing, okay? So, our needs are met. So when we're thinking about purchases from a consumer standpoint, I'm not thinking about like I need to fulfill my needs. The majority of my purchase decisions are not fear-based purchase decisions, and they're not like a live or die situation. It's really, I'm going about it for pleasure. These are pleasurable decisions that I'm making, and I'm thinking about, how do I decorate my life? How do I enhance my day-to-day existence with this purchase? That's the majority of the driving decisions through this. It's an aesthetically driven decision. Like, what can I buy that's pretty? You kind of like, you think about those teen movies where there's the scene where they're going shopping. The girls are going shopping in the scene. They're always like trying clothes on. They're like, is this me? Is this me?
I like this one.
That's cool.
But like, I don't know about the one shoulder thing.
I like this one. Yeah, I like the beading, and you wouldn't need jewelry. Jess, what do you think? Lavender? Is that good? Is that my color?
That's what's in our mind as we're making consumer decisions. Is this me? And we're trying to just like, since all of our needs are met, what we're doing at that point is we're doing our own personal world building. We're framing and shaping our identity off of the things that we're buying. They're almost like artifacts of us, and we're creating this pastiche of who I am, this conglomeration of the things that I enjoy and the things that I like that is the driver behind most of our consumer purchases. They're for, in a sense, a pleasure entertainment-based decision. Also, the majority of consumer goods are sold within a marketplace, okay? So, be that on Amazon, in Walmart, like in a farmer's market, like there's a central location that holds the majority of our consumer goods, and then we go to that central location, and then we shop within that central location. You may have brand loyalty to these specific places, like whether or not you want to, or oftentimes if it's a decision between Walmart and Target, it's kind of like time of day or what clothes you have clean at that moment in time, right? If you got nice clothes on, clean, probably going to Target. If you're slumming it and it's like 10 p.m., great time to go to Walmart, okay? But but there's a central location where we're going. And now as a consumer, because we're building our identity, there's a lot of like control in that decision. Like I want to be making those decisions because I know what I like. I want the freedom to explore, for something to catch my eye. So that way it's like, oh, I like this in the cart, right? This speaks to me. I like this in the cart. Like that's kind of guiding our decisions. We don't like direct sales as a consumer for the majority, right? Like if I'm gonna get like, maybe there's a special event or something and I want to get a really nice suit, I'll allow somebody to guide me through that decision. If I'm going to be spending a lot more money on, say, a house, I want a real estate agent to help me guide me through that decision. It's like there's a sort of like hierarchy of decision making. And so as you're spending more and more money, it's nice to then be in a luxury situation where you're actually having someone facilitate that decision for you. You're relying on their expert opinion. But the majority of the decisions that you're making, they are your decisions. It is, do you like this or do you not like this? And they're self-guided decisions within a marketplace because you're just kind of like looking for something that's going to catch your eye, right? And we really don't like direct sales as consumers. If I'm walking through a mall, right, and I see those people in their little shacks in the middle of the mall thing, and they're trying to catch my eye or they're trying to holler at me, I'm looking down. And I'm like weaving. And it's even like as you see them off in the distance, I'm trying to like calculate like, okay, they're looking that way. So if I speed up a little bit and then edge a little to the left, they might not notice me. Or maybe if I slow down and kind of like get behind this group here, they won't harass me. They're going to harass the group. Come on, you do this too, right? Like I don't want to talk to that person. And I really hate shopping in stores where people are like, they're paid on commission in retail, commission in retail. Like, come on. Like, no, I don't want you to give me a shirt to try on because you don't know me. So you don't know my style, right? Like I'm not coming here thinking that I'm going to get an expert opinion at this random store in the mall. That's not why I'm here. I want to browse. I want to peruse because I want to find something that I like.
I want to look special. Bridal. But not like I expect anything.
There's nothing I love more than a dumb blonde with daddy's plastic.
I know, he gets excited when he
Did you see this one? We just got it in yesterday.
Oh, is this low viscosity rayon?
Yes, of course.
With a half loop top stitching on the hem?
Absolutely. It's one of a kind.
It's impossible to use a half loop top stitching on low viscosity rayon. It would snag the fabric. And you didn't just get it in. I saw it in the June Vogue a year ago. So if you're trying to sell it to me for full price, you picked the wrong girl.
The majority of decisions are not security-based decisions, right? Like what color shirt I buy has zero impact on whether or not I'm going to eat the next day. Like no impact at all. That's what I mean. You're designing your life. And there's like a rare amount of security-based decisions as a consumer that you actually have to make. And really you kind of are just setting up that foundation. You just set your foundation up once and you kind of like keep those people on for a long time. So what do I mean by that? Like your doctor, your lawyer, insurance, right? And then even the majority of us, our insurances are through our jobs and our benefit package. So that's not even much of a big decision either. Your accountant, right? Like these big foundational decisions, that's kind of like, it's a handful, right? That was 4. Okay, maybe there's a 5th one. I don't know. Oh, if you have a therapist, right? Or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you're not really making a tremendous amount of security decisions because you have a job, right? And your job is your security. So your security is essentially already there. You're decorating your life on top of that. So that's why the majority of B2C advertising and stuff is emotionally driven. They don't have a direct sales team. So you're trying to like really hit people and dig into a core emotional association as fast as possible, because no one's going out there direct selling this stuff, because the door-to-door salesman doesn't exist for the most part anymore. And it's weird if someone comes to my door trying to sell me stuff. It's weird.
Can I come in?
Who are you?
I like your house. Can I come in?
What is this? No, you can't come in.
Are you sure?
What do you...
We're all watching too much TV and we think we're about to get murdered in that situation. Like, we don't want to even answer our door for that. Okay? So you're trying to create a very strong emotional association with your product when you're advertising it, because a lot of these things are dictated by like my preference, my emotional preference. Like, does this make me happy or not? Do I like it or not? Does this say me or not? So that's why you're also trying to sell an identity, because the guiding judgment is this me? Or is this my aspirational identity, right? So that's what's going on in B2C. In B2B, it's kind of like the complete opposite, all right? So in B2B, aesthetics are not the driving decision factor. Security is. Because when you're weighing these decisions from a business context, it's like your responsibility is for fortifying, sustaining, or improving your foundation. And that foundation is your financial security. And if that foundation deteriorates, your security is taken from you, which now that affects your ability to pay for housing. It literally affects your ability to pay for food, right? Like, you are now thinking in terms of security, life and death, resources, right? It's a resource-based decision. And a resource-based decision has to be more thoughtful, more planned out. You can't just willy-nilly make this because you like it, right? Like there has to be an exchange, a give and take. Every dollar that you're spending at this moment in time is an investment in value. And you start measuring it on like, how much risk do we want to take on by making this investment? Okay. Is this investment worth the amount of money we're paying? Which is basically to say, is it worth the amount of risk that we're willing to take on in order to afford this thing? And you're thinking about that from every single purchase decision that you're making. Like, if you're getting a new CRM, is it worth the monthly expense to do this new CRM? Is it going to make our team more efficient? Is it going to tie marketing and sales closer together? Is it going to strengthen our ability to serve our customers? Are we going to be able to stay on top of leads more quickly and close more sales more quickly? And then start to hopefully reduce our churn rate amongst our customers because of this system we're implementing. These are all decisions that you're having to make, which means that they're very critical decisions. They have to be data backed. Right? We need strong evidence to support our decisions so we understand that we're making the right decision. And so because of all of these things, right? Like, we need assurances. Like, I need to make sure that I'm making the right decision. And I really, because I'm a little freaked out by the decision that I'm making, trust is extremely important. I really need to trust the person that I'm dealing with. And in a sense, I want to have an emotional bond with this person from a security standpoint, right? So from a security standpoint, I want to make sure that there's more than just a contract that's going to protect me when stuff goes wrong, because this is life and things go wrong in life. I want to make sure that I can trust these people that I'm working with to help me when something goes wrong. then I'm not just going to be like waved off or kicked to the curb. So it's actually very beneficial if I'm dealing with a specific individual. And if I am dealing with a specific individual, that gives me assurance because now I can establish trust with that person, and I know I can rely on that person to help me because we have a emotional bond now. I can rely on them to help me when I need their help, right? I don't want to create an abusive relationship where I'm always demanding that they do things. There are people out there who do that and they suck, right? But I want to know that I'm taken care of, because that gives me the assurance, because we're talking about security. That helps me feel secure, okay? So because of that, that's why the majority of B2B services are direct sales. And we have direct sale teams going door to door to introduce themselves. Because here, the truth of the matter is the majority of B2B services are not unique. They're not. The majority of B2B companies are the exact same companies. They offer it because they're attacking the same problem. They're offering the same solutions, most likely in the same way. Why? Because security, assurances, expectations, right? There's only so many ways you can skin a cat, basically, okay? So what's the deciding factor then if all of these companies are kind of offering the same thing in the same way? The relationship between the salesperson and their prospect or their customer or their client. That's the determining factor. The two things that are paramount to a salesperson's success in B2B is their reputation that precedes them, so that way they can get direct referrals from other clients to other people. They get word of mouth recommendations that way. And their ability to communicate assurance, to prove that they can do what they're promising, right? And then give the customer the sense of security that they're in good hands. Okay? So if you think about that, like your reputation that precedes you, communicating assurance, this is where brand storytelling comes in perfectly, right? Like, by working at a company that has a strong brand reputation, that they've got great brand awareness, right? And they've got a pretty good amount of brand equity. They're going to be naturally the preferred provider that people want to work with. People are already going to have an inherent preference for working with them because there's already that assurance that they see that organization and they think stability. They think kind of like that their success is guaranteed, that it's less risky of a decision to make going with that company than as opposed to this competitor whose brand kind of looks cobbled together. The website is questionable. The handouts that they're leaving with me don't look like the graphics of the advertisements that they've gone on. They don't match the business card that I'm being handed, right? Like, as I'm judging all of these materials, I'm making a lot of judgments about the integrity and the capability of this organization. That it's actually aesthetic judgments that I'm making. It's the way that this company is presenting themselves, that is impacting how I am judging their ability to actually take care of me. It's how I'm determining how good and how strong of an organization that they are. So interestingly, it is aesthetic observations that are informing my sense of security, right? Because if all that stuff was real tight together, like very buttoned up, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you're a salesperson or think about your sales team, right? They're not going and selling to people smelling like crap with holes in their clothes, right? Unless the people that they're actually trying to reach happen to be dirty and smelly all day. And if you went in there with a very cleaned and and looking super sharp in a suit, and you are completely out of, you look like a fish out of water. You're not meeting them where they're at. Okay, so just take all these these examples with a grain of salt here, right? But like, you should approach people in the way that they expect to be approached, in the way that's comfortable for them, right? But it's kind of just going back to my example, right? Like, there should be an intent with how you dress and how you present yourself, what you say to people, that these start to develop patterns. Your marketing then needs to support all of that, reinforce all of that, make it look like you are coming as a representative from a professional organization, because these aesthetics that we're seeing, so like the design of the marketing, right? Like the colors, everything, those are informing how we consider whether or not this is a sure decision. Like, is this a company that has their stuff together? Are they professional? Aesthetics inform our perception of security, their reassurance, right? And then, so if you've got, and just thinking about a reputation, right? Your individual reputation is improved when you're associated with, like, as a member of a reputable organization, okay? That was a really complicated way of saying that if you're a salesperson for a known brand, it's a lot easier for you to make sales. So it's actually beneficial and worth the company's time to invest in their brand reputation, invest in their brand story, and raise their brand's perceived value, because they're making it easier for their salespeople to do their job. You're removing friction. If you're talking to somebody, okay, and you learn that they're a Marine, wow, okay? Like, suddenly that changes your whole perception of who that person is, because the reputation of a Marine, of the Marine Corps, right, is now by association transferred onto this person. And they just raised up in status in your mind because they're a Marine, right? Like, I'm not a Marine, right? Like, that's tough. To become a Marine is real tough. I've never done that, Like, I've never been to boot camp, never been to war, like, not ever going to do that, okay? Like, the fact that they've done that, I'm just like, whoa, wow. Like, they're way more higher in how I rate them and where I'm placing them in status on my personal status scale, right? Because we all have that, because that's how we navigate life and make decisions. This is ultimately a status thing. Like, how much security can they give us? That's a status thing. That raises them. And so what happened is the organization's known reputation of being a Marine, right, is now placed on them by association. That's what a strong brand does to their sales team. By investing in brand equity, what you're doing is you're raising the perceived value of your brand, right? Like, everything's buttoned up. You look professional. And you look professional because there's this consistency and cohesion amongst all of your marketing materials, right? That your story that you're telling is together, it's holistic, it's unified, it's concise, right? And you're able now to provide all of your salespeople with consistent anecdotal stories, right? Like, your brand storytelling about the successes that have happened within your organization. But it might be smart to not just focus on these, like, amazing examples that are just kind of like a 1 in 100 thing. That's great for advertising, right? That's great for maybe like a good quote on your website or something. But what regular businesses are going to want is assurance that there's a consistency, that they have faced my issue and they know how to solve it, right? And so therefore, it's actually important to constantly be telling customer testimonials just across your entire client base, because it gives you more anecdotes to use. These are now tools that your sales team can use to direct deliver to. And now it allows them to do a predictive customer service. That if I know I've got like a library of 20 different customer testimonial videos that I can use, like now I can send those out in like after a meeting. Say I met with a customer, they brought up some things, I addressed them in the meeting, but then post-meeting, I can then send them a personal email with that video in there, right? That's just, they're now, it's this brand storytelling component of like making consistent customer testimonials, adding to the brand value, helping that. Now you're reducing friction on the sale because you're transferring your brand reputation onto the salesperson, right? And you're enhancing your salesperson's reputation, and you're also providing them with further evidence, further anecdotes, further case studies to help them prove the value that your company can provide to their potential prospects. Now, once you've made the sale too, the success of that business relationship depends on the success of the relationship between the salesperson and their account, their client, their customer, right? And so as people, how do we sustain relationships, right? Well, we invite them to parties, right? We invite people over to hang out. If we're throwing a party, we invite them to that. We might send them a card. We'll send them a message, letting them know we're thinking about them. We'll call them up to talk to them, to check in, right? It's making an effort to let them know that we want to spend time with them and that they're on our mind and that we care about them, okay? So now thinking about it in terms of how do you take these actions, these behaviors, these needs of relating to people, how do you take those and scale them digitally, right? And so a lot of kind of like when you're thinking about brand storytelling from a B2B organization, you should put a lot of effort into considering a nurture funnel, like nurture campaigns. What can we create for our current customers to let them know that we care about them, but what can we also have at the ready so that way our salespeople can use to send directly to them? You know, like what can we make that can celebrate their business, can thank them for their business, can honor them for their business? And so it's like, what stories can we tell, and can we create a consistent series, a consistent story series where we're honoring client relationships, where we're celebrating their successes? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we're trying to do. And that's what brand storytelling offers you. And then your reputation, by doing that nurture campaign, it's going to add to your reputation as an organization, because now you're the organization that celebrates its customers, that goes out of its way to honor and celebrate their customers. That just raised your brand reputation. That just raised your brand equity. That just made it even more easier for your salesperson to do their job and to make the sale, right? That gives you more money to now be able to do more brand storytelling. You've created a positive feedback cycle, okay? So really, the difference between B2B and B2C isn't so much aesthetics versus security. Really, what you start understanding is that aesthetics ultimately creates security. Aesthetics creates a emotional sense of professionalism. It creates a perspective of professionalism, that perceived professionalism adds kind of like security points to your brand. And that in B2B, the most important thing is that direct relationship between the sales rep and the customer. And therefore, from a marketing standpoint, you have to be thinking about not just sales enablement tools that your salesperson needs, but how do I scale this? How do I scale that relationship? What are like these relationship needs, these emotional needs that are being met? What are those? How do we scale those and make those the themes of the stories that we're telling, make them part of our content marketing strategy? And now let's build series around that so we're constantly pushing out these emotions and constantly causing our customers to experience these emotions through our marketing. All right, hope that was helpful. Hope that helps you think about how to actually sell brand storytelling within your organization. And as always, if you have any questions, you can find me at McNabb_storytelling on Instagram. And then also on Twitter, we are at Storytelligent. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.